Good afternoon. This is All India Radio. I am Valsa Williams with the Midday News. The headlines. Administration of precautionary dose of COVID-19 vaccine for healthcare and frontline workers, senior citizens over 60 years of age with comorbidities begins across the country. Supreme Court to set up high-level committee to inquire into security lapses during Prime Minister's visit to Punjab. Prime Minister Narendra Modi to inaugurate the 25th National Youth Festival on Wednesday in Puducherry virtually, also to inaugurate 11 new medical colleges and new campus of Central Institute of Classical Tamil in Tamil Nadu. Health Minister Mansukh Mandavia to chair virtual meeting with health ministers of 5 states and a union territory today to review the COVID-19 situation. Over 151 crore 94 lakh doses of COVID-19 vaccines administered in the country under the nationwide vaccination drive. Recovery rate stands at 96.62%. Over 1,79,000 new COVID cases reported in last 24 hours in the country. 4,033 cases of Omicron variant of COVID-19 reported so far. First ever Startup India Innovation Week to be held from today. Myanmar court sentences Aung San Suu Kyi to 4 more years in prison. And in tennis, Rafael Nadal defeats American Maxime Cressy to win men's singles final of Melbourne Somerset ATP 250 event. As the number of COVID-19 cases is rising fast in several parts of the country, we appeal to our listeners to be vigilant and to get fully vaccinated and help others, including children between 15 and 18 years, get vaccinated. As the new Omicron variant of coronavirus is causing concern, please continue to follow these 3 simple steps to stay safe. Wear a face mask, maintain 2 gaz ki doori for social distancing, focus on hand and face hygiene. For any COVID-related information and guidance, contact national helpline numbers 011-2397-8046 and 1075. And now the news in detail. Administration of precautionary dose of COVID-19 vaccine for healthcare and frontline workers and those over 60 years of age with comorbidities has begun from today across the country. The centre has issued guidelines stating that no new registration will be required to get a precaution dose. The online appointment for the precaution dose shots began last Saturday, where one can book slots. The CoWIN system will send SMS to such beneficiaries for availing the precaution dose when it becomes due. Union Health Minister Dr. Mansukh Mandavia has said that reminder messages through SMS have been sent to more than 1 crore healthcare and frontline workers and citizens over 60 years of age for receiving precaution doses. Prioritization and sequencing of the precaution dose for the beneficiaries would be based on the completion of 9 months from the date of administration of the second dose, which is 39 weeks. All citizens, irrespective of their income status, are entitled to free COVID-19 vaccination at government vaccination centres. The precaution dose will be the same vaccine as were given to them previously. Talking to AIR News, in charge of COVID Vaccination Centre at RML Hospital, New Delhi, Dr. Neelam Rai said that an overwhelming response is being seen among the healthcare and frontline workers as well as among the people aged over 60 years with comorbidities for receiving the precaution dose.
We have 3 vaccination sites and we have 20% slots. In all the 3 sites, they are reserved for precaution dose. Those who have completed 9 months after the second dose, they are eligible for precaution dose, including healthcare workers, frontline workers and 60 years and above with comorbidity. And all the online slots, they are already booked at all the sites of RML Hospital. And also we are giving the same vaccine as per guidelines. The vaccine has to be same for precaution dose as given in first and second.
In Assam, administration of booster dose has begun in the state. Health Minister Keshav Mahanta has attended a program in this connection at Jorhat Medical College. Talking to AIR News, Mission Director of State NHM, Dr. Lakshmanan S. said that jabs are being administered at medical colleges and vaccination centres. Meanwhile, 988 COVID-19 cases have been registered yesterday in Assam. Kamrup Metro has reported the highest, 490 cases. In West Bengal, precautionary dose against COVID-19 is also being administered. According to the State Health Department, on the first day, nearly 2 lakh people will be given the jab. Overall, nearly 40 lakh personnel will be administered with the booster dose. Among them, 22 lakh are above the age of 60 years with comorbidities, while nearly 11 lakh are frontline workers and over 7 lakh are healthcare personnel. In Gujarat, Chief Minister Bhupendra Patel was present at the vaccination centre at Sector 29 of Gandhinagar Municipal Corporation this morning during the launch of this drive. According to sources, about 17,000 health workers are likely to take precaution dose on the first day today out of total 9 lakh such eligible people. In Uttarakhand, booster dose of COVID-19 is also being administered to frontline workers and people above 60 years of age from today. The Supreme Court is to constitute a high-level committee headed by retired Supreme Court judge to investigate lapses in Prime Minister Narendra Modi's security in Punjab. A 3-judge bench comprising Chief Justice N.V. Ramana and Justices Suryakant and Hima Kohli was hearing the plea filed by an organization, Lawyers' Voice. The Prime Minister's convoy was stranded on a flyover due to a blockade by protesters in Firozpur, after which he returned from poll-bound Punjab without attending the planned events, including a rally. The Apex Court last Friday had also directed the Registrar General of the Punjab and Haryana High Court to secure and preserve the records pertaining to arrangements made for the Prime Minister's visit to Punjab when there was a massive security breach. The Supreme Court today agreed to extend the limitation period to file cases across the country, keeping in view the surge in COVID-19 cases. The counsel, appearing for the applicant, pointed out the seriousness of the spread of COVID-19 in the country and requested that the earlier orders passed by the Apex Court extending the limitation period be restored. To this, the bench stated that they are accepting the stand of the applicants and asked the Attorney General, AG K.K. Venugopal, to share a draft before it of what should be incorporated in the order in the case. Health Minister Mansukh Mandavia will chair a virtual meeting with health ministers of 5 states and a union territory today to review the COVID-19 situation amid an exponential rise in the cases. These states and UT are Maharashtra, Rajasthan, Goa, Gujarat, Madhya Pradesh, and the Union Territory of Dadra and Nagar Haveli and Daman and Diu. The meeting comes a day after Prime Minister Narendra Modi reviewed the pandemic situation across the country yesterday. The country had reported more than 150,000 new COVID-19 cases yesterday, and the case tally of the Omicron variant of the virus reached 3,623 in the country. The Union government has said a total of 4,033 cases of Omicron variant of COVID-19 have been reported so far in the country. Out of these total cases, 1,552 patients have already recovered and migrated. Maximum number of 1,216 cases have been reported from Maharashtra, followed by Rajasthan 529 and Delhi 513 cases. Omicron cases have been reported in 27 states and union territories. Health and Family Welfare Ministry today said over 151 crore 94 lakh doses of COVID vaccines have been administered in the country under the nationwide vaccination drive. The ministry said more than 29 lakh 60,000 COVID vaccine doses were administered in the last 24 hours to the beneficiaries. 46,569 COVID patients have recovered during the last 24 hours, and the national recovery rate stands at 96.62%. More than 3 crore 45 lakh patients have recovered from COVID-19 in the country so far. The country reported over 1 lakh 79,000 new COVID cases in the last 24 hours. The Union government has said more than 156 crore 5 lakh COVID vaccine doses have been provided to states and union territories so far. Health Ministry today said more than 17 crore 57 lakh unutilized vaccine doses are still available with the states and UTs to be administered. In the Union Territory of Chandigarh, 666 new COVID-19 cases were reported yesterday. The maximum 60 cases were reported from Mani Majra. The positivity rate in the UT is registered at 14.36%. UT Health Department says now there are 2,364 active cases under treatment. Yesterday, 96 COVID-19 patients were discharged from home isolation after recovery. The Rajasthan government has decided to impose a weekend curfew and shut down schools amid the rising number of COVID-19 cases in the state. The state government has decided to impose fresh set of guidelines from this week. The new guidelines include the closure of schools and the imposition of weekend curfew in the state. The government on Sunday imposed a weekend curfew in the state from 11 p.m. on Saturday to 5 a.m. Monday. This new guideline will come into effect from January the 11th as per official sources. The state government further announced the closure of schools and suspensions of all fiscal academic activities up to class 12th till January the 13th. During this period, online classes will continue for all students. Strict restrictions are in place in Maharashtra since midnight, and police started implementing restrictions by barricading and checking vehicles and people to ensure the implementation of the guidelines. But revised guidelines were issued yesterday for gyms and beauty salons after the request was made by the stakeholders to allow them to operate with 50% capacity and following other norms. Mumbai, Thane and Pune are showing a rising trend in COVID cases, but the percentage of hospitalization and use of oxygen is much below the critical level. More from our correspondent.
Maharashtra government has revised the guidelines for beauty salons and gymnasiums, which paved the way for them to operate with 50% capacity. Similarly, gymnasiums will also remain open with 50% capacity, allowing fully vaccinated members in the gyms. Use of masks is mandatory and only fully vaccinated staff will be allowed to operate at these centers. Mumbai has shown marginal drop with less than 20,000 daily cases yesterday, but the higher infection rate among police personnel, doctors, staff of government offices, best and railway staff and other frontline workers has become the major cause of concern. Lower hospitalization rate and less use of oxygen is the only relief for the administration. Shailesh Patil, AIR News, Mumbai.
Minister of State and PMO Dr. Jitendra Singh has said that pregnant women employees and Divyang employees have been exempted from attending office due to rising COVID cases. Briefing media yesterday, Dr. Singh said pregnant women and Divyang employees will be required to remain available and work from home. He added that all officials and staff living in containment zones shall also be exempted from coming to office till the time containment zone is denotified. The minister said the physical attendance of government servants below the level of undersecretary has been restricted to 50% of the actual strength, and the remaining 50% will work from home. Talking to AIR News, Dr. Anjan Trikha, Professor AIMS in New Delhi, advised for symptomatic treatment for the patients in home isolation following infection with the new variant.
पूरी देश में ये जो नया स्ट्रेन है उसके कारण ये पॉजिटिव केस आ रहे हैं, बट इसमें एक अच्छी बात है केसेस इतने सीरियस नहीं हो रहे हैं, बट यस केस बढ़ रहे हैं और यही समय है कि हम सबको घरों में रहना है, मास्क लगाना है और अगर जरूरी हो तभी बाहर जाना है और ऐसी कोई रैलीज वगैरह नहीं करनी है या धार्मिक हो या पॉलिटिकल हो या किसी तरह की हो या शादियां हो जहां पे बहुत सारे लोग इकट्ठे हों और बहुत सारे लोग पॉजिटिव हो जाए.
Dr. Trikha also opines that since it is not affecting lungs directly, there is no need for oxygen backup.
जिस तरह डेल्टा स्ट्रेन लंग्स को प्रभावित कर रहा था उस तरह ये ओमाइक्रॉन स्ट्रेन नहीं कर रहा है. ये लंग्स के ऊपर का जो हिस्सा होता है जिसको ट्रेकिया या अपर या फेरिंग्स कहते हैं उसी के अंदर रह के वो अपना असर दिखा रहा है. गले में खराश हो रही है, खांसी आ रही है और उसी के कारण जो इन्फेक्शन हो रहा है उससे बुखार हो रहा है और मांसपेशियों में दर्द हो रहा है. तो लंग पे अभी उतना इफेक्ट नहीं हमें नजर आ रहा है. इसलिए बहुत ही मामूली लोग हैं जिनको थोड़ी सी ऑक्सीजन की जरूरत पड़ रही है क्योंकि उनको पहले से ही फेफड़ों की बीमारी थी, को ब्रोंकियल अस्थमा था, किसी को इंटरस्टिशियल लंग डिजीज थी या किसी को फेफड़ों का ही कैंसर था, तो इस कारण उसको ऑक्सीजन की जरूरत पड़ रही है. तो ये जो स्ट्रेन है ये लंग्स को, फेफड़ों को इफेक्ट नहीं कर रहा है अभी तक.
In our bilingual live phone-in program Corona Jagrukta series, Dr. P.K. Jha, Medanta Hospital, Gurugram, will be with us tonight to answer queries related to coronavirus. Listeners can ask questions to the expert from 9:30 p.m. on telephone number 011-2342-1230 and 011-2342-1764. You can also post your queries on our Twitter handle at AIR News Alerts by hashtag AskAIR. This live program can be heard on FM Gold channel and additional frequencies from 9:30 p.m. onwards. This program will also be available on our website, newsonair.gov.in, and YouTube channel, News on AIR Official. You are listening to the Midday News on All India Radio. A reminder of the headlines before we move on. Administration of precautionary dose of COVID-19 vaccine for healthcare and frontline workers, senior citizens over 60 years of age with comorbidities begins across the country. Supreme Court to set up high-level committee to inquire into security lapses during Prime Minister's visit to Punjab. Prime Minister Narendra Modi to inaugurate the 25th National Youth Festival on Wednesday in Puducherry virtually, also to inaugurate 11 new medical colleges and new campus of Central Institute of Classical Tamil in Tamil Nadu. Health Minister Mansukh Mandavia to chair virtual meeting with the health ministers of 5 states and union territory today to review the COVID-19 situation. Over 151 crore 94 lakh doses of COVID-19 vaccines administered in the country under the nationwide vaccination drive. Recovery rate stands at 96.62%. Over 1,79,000 new COVID cases reported in last 24 hours in the country. 4,033 cases of Omicron variant of COVID-19 reported so far. First ever Startup India Innovation Week to be held from today. Myanmar court sentences Aung San Suu Kyi to 4 more years in prison. And in tennis, Rafael Nadal defeats American Maxime Cressy to win men's singles final of Melbourne Somerset ATP 250 event. For quick news updates round the clock, follow us on our Twitter handle at AIR News Alerts.
उपभोक्ताओं तक पहुंचने का सुलभ और सस्ता माध्यम है आकाशवाणी।
आकाशवाणी के विभिन्न केंद्रों से कीजिए अपने उत्पादों और सेवाओं का प्रचार विज्ञापनों के माध्यम से।
लोकल और राष्ट्रीय स्तर पर कीजिए अपने बिजनेस का विस्तार, क्योंकि आकाशवाणी में विज्ञापन बुकिंग हुई बहुत ही आसान।
अब घर, दफ्तर या दुकान पर बैठे बैठे आप कर सकते हैं विज्ञापनों की बुकिंग।
डायल कीजिए 870-001-4242।
नंबर एक बार फिर नोट करें, 870-001-4242।
Welcome back to the Midday News. Prime Minister Narendra Modi will inaugurate the 25th National Youth Festival on Wednesday at 11 a.m. in Puducherry via video conferencing. The day, being the birth anniversary of Swami Vivekananda, is observed as National Youth Day. The festival aims to shape the minds of India's youth and transform them into a united force for nation building. It is one of the biggest exercises in social cohesion as well as intellectual and cultural integration. It aims to bring diverse cultures of India and integrate them into a united thread of Ek Bharat, Shresth Bharat. Prime Minister Narendra Modi will inaugurate 11 new government medical colleges across Tamil Nadu and the new campus of Central Institute of Classical Tamil in Chennai on Wednesday. The new medical colleges are being established at an estimated cost of about 4,000 crore rupees. Of this amount, around 2,145 crore rupees has been provided by the Union Government and the rest by the Tamil Nadu Government. The Department for Promotion of Industry and Internal Trade DPIIT is organizing the first ever Startup India Innovation Week from today till the 16th of this month. This virtual week-long innovation celebration aims to commemorate the 75th year of India's independence, Azadi Ka Amrit Mahotsav, and is designed to showcase the spread and depth of entrepreneurship across India. India is emerging as a global innovation hub, boasting the world's third largest startup ecosystem. DPIIT has recognized more than 61,000 startups as on date. And now let's listen to our special program, Azadi Ka Safar, highlighting the importance of the day during the freedom struggle.
आजादी का अमृत महोत्सव। Azadi Ka Safar with AIR News. Birth of a Nation. India's glorious freedom struggle is one of the greatest struggles the modern world has ever witnessed. AIR News brings you a glimpse of this struggle every day.
On the 10th of January 1616, England's first official ambassador to India, Thomas Roe, came to the court of Mughal Emperor Jahangir at Ajmer. Although his 4-year-long negotiations with Jahangir didn't prove successful, the visit marked the beginning of British economic and political interest in the Indian subcontinent.
Roe arrived at the port of Surat in September 1615 with a letter from King James I to the then reigning Mughal Emperor Jahangir seeking a trade agreement. Determined that his arrival to the Mughal Empire should be an occasion of dignity and splendor, Roe did not leave the ship for a full week, mainly due to arguments over customs searches. He finally made the journey to Ajmer, where he was presented to the Emperor Jahangir on the 10th of January 1616. Roe was vexed to discover that the Mughals regarded relations with the English as a very low priority. On arrival, he was showed into a substandard accommodation.
Roe lived in the Mughal Empire until the 17th of February 1619, during which time he laboured to improve England's reputation among Mughal officials and tried desperately to obtain a royal farman for permanent trade. He eventually returned to England in 1619 without the trade agreement.
We also remember freedom fighter Narendra Vishnu Gadkil, who was born on the 10th of January 1896 in Malhargarh, Madhya Pradesh. Popularly known as Kaka Saheb Gadkil, he was an erudite lawyer and an outstanding literary figure. Gadkil was influenced by great freedom fighters including Lokmanya Bal Gangadhar Tilak, Mahatma Gandhi and Vallabhbhai Patel.
Spiritual leaders Swami Ramakrishna Paramhans and Swami Vivekananda also made a deep impression on him. For his active participation in the national freedom movement, he was imprisoned 8 times by the British.
Gadkil joined the Indian National Congress immediately after obtaining his law degree. He served as the secretary of Pune District Congress Committee in 1920. Later, he became the president of Maharashtra Pradesh Congress Committee. He was elected to the Central Legislative Assembly in 1934. Gadkil was a pioneer in social reform movements in Maharashtra in the 1930s.
After independence, Gadkil served as a minister in the first Central Cabinet of India between 1947 and 1952. He held the portfolios of public works and mines and power. He is credited with initiating the project of building a military-caliber road between Pathankot to Srinagar via Jammu and Kashmir as a part of strengthening India's hold over the region during and after the 1947 Indo-Pakistan War. He also initiated important development projects, including Bhakra, Koyna and Hirakud dams. Gadkil also served as the governor of Punjab.
Gadkil was a prolific writer and wrote several books and articles on politics, economics, law, history, oratory, etc. His important works include Pathik and Raja Shastra Vichar. For his great contribution to Marathi literature, he was elected president of the Marathi Sahitya Sammelan in 1962. He remained committed to the welfare of the public till his death on the 12th of January 1966.
That brings us to the end of this episode of Azadi Ka Safar with AIR News. See you in the next episode tomorrow.
आजादी के आंदोलन के खजाने में ऐसे ढेरों शब्द जिन्होंने बदल दिए इतिहास, तारीख बदलने वाले लफ्जों पर आकाशवाणी समाचार ला रहा है विशेष कार्यक्रम धरोहर हर सोमवार।
Best wishes to all consumers for Azadi Ka Amrit Mahotsav. Hallmark ensures purity of gold. Always purchase hallmarked gold jewelry. For any consumer-related complaints, please contact National Consumer Helpline toll-free number 14404, issued in public interest by Department of Consumer Affairs, Government of India, Jago Grahak Jago. World Hindi Day is being observed today. The day is commemorated every year with the objective to promote use of Hindi language abroad. On this day in 2006, the first World Hindi Conference was held in Nagpur with the aim to promote the language worldwide, and since then every year, the 10th of January, is being observed as the World Hindi Day. Ministry of External Affairs and Indian Missions Abroad also observe the day annually. Former State Councillor of Myanmar Aung San Suu Kyi was sentenced to 4 more years in prison on Monday. She was handed over the punishment in a case related to possession of unlicensed walkie-talkie, reports Reuters. The court handed over a sentence of 2 years for breaching the export-import law, for possessing the handheld walkie-talkie, and 1 year for having a set of signal jammers. The 2 sentences will run concurrently. In tennis, 20-time Grand Slam champion Rafael Nadal defeated American Maxime Cressy 7-6-6-3 in the men's singles final of the Melbourne Somerset ATP 250 event yesterday. The world number 6 Nadal showed no signs of rustiness as he did not lose a set en route to the title in Melbourne. Now let us take a look at the weather update for the day. National capital Delhi is experiencing shallow fog. It recorded minimum temperature of 8 degrees Celsius, while maximum will be around 16. Mumbai will have a partly cloudy sky. It noted a minimum temperature of 19 degrees, maximum expected around 31. Chennai is likely to have a partly cloudy sky. Kolkata will have a mainly clear sky. And now, before we end the bulletin, the headlines once again. Administration of precautionary dose of COVID-19 vaccine for healthcare and frontline workers and senior citizens over 60 years of age with comorbidities begins across the country. Supreme Court to set up high-level committee to inquire into security lapses during Prime Minister's visit to Punjab. Prime Minister Narendra Modi to inaugurate 25th National Youth Festival on Wednesday in Puducherry virtually. Also to inaugurate 11 new medical colleges and new campus of Central Institute of Classical Tamil in Tamil Nadu. Health Minister Mansukh Mandavia to chair virtual meeting with the health ministers of 5 states and a union territory today to review the COVID-19 situation. Over 151 crore 94 lakh doses of COVID-19 vaccines administered in the country under a nationwide vaccination drive. First ever Startup India Innovation Week to be held from today. Myanmar sentences Aung San Suu Kyi to 4 more years in prison. In tennis, Rafael Nadal defeats American Maxime Cressy to win men's singles final of Melbourne Somerset ATP 250 event. And with that, we end the midday news.